Is that the video? Yeah, get it where, because I can add it.
Recording.
Oh, we're recording. Okay, now get to the big screen so you can have fun.
Done.
Okay.
Yo, we're ready. Let's
do this countdown without me. Let me get all dogs.
Dogs are fine. Fran, how was your trip?
Say hi.
It was great.
Aww.
Okay, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I hear we're supposed to tell Kelly not to move to Connecticut. Is that right?
Kelly does not want to go to Connecticut.
Yeah, she don't want to go. She does not.
Oh,
no.
What are we gonna do?
I don't know. That is the big question in the family right now. More so with Ben. Good Lord, helpless. Love him to death, but come on. Oh, so this is recording. Oh, do not play that to Ben.
He loves this show too.
Ben knows.
He always watches this show.
I love Ben. You got to cut this part out. Ben, I love you. You do. But Ben,
What's going on with Ben?
You don't even know what you want.
That's
what I want to say with Ben. Okay, that's what I want to say with Ben. You don't even know what you want. That's from Bridesmaids. She's like, she'll have a 7 and 7. Don't worry, it's sweet. Okay, so let's do this. We'll talk about Ben afterwards. We love talking about all the other kids love.
Give a long time before.
You're gonna get your mom activated. Now your mom's.
It's happening.
Mama Bear's coming out.
All right, 5, 4, 3, and welcome to another episode of the Mid-Level Show. I'm so pumped to be back. We have a full house. We don't have Ben, although I heard he did great. I know he looked great. I did review the tapes, as we say, and he looked amazing. And Ben, I promise we weren't talking about you prior to us cutting the recording. So don't look at what we cut, hopefully. So welcome to the Mid-Level Show. We are the mid-levels of performance medicine, PAs and MPs, and just, what is that in a, what's the Madonna song in a material world, right? Is that Madonna? Is that Cyndi Lauper? Madonna? Okay. I digress. I'm in a mood today and it's going to be fun. We are talking about intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting, this means that you intermittently fast. You're not in a complete state of not eating, but you intermittently do it. A portion of the day you're not eating. This is a big fad right now. And I want to use the word fad. Not that sounds very like it's just the new thing that's out. Fasting has been around forever. Religions use fasting as part of their rituals, but to me, I feel like that's partly in a way to help with health as well. I just want to go around and get everyone's kind of first takes. Dad, Papa Doc, right there, has read this book called Fast, Feast, Repeat by Jen Stevens, which I'm currently reading right now, and it's actually a very, very good read. And what I got from the book and from what he's talked about is that fasting is very specific and very individual. Everybody does not have to follow the same plan. So we'll start. I'm just going to go to my left. I don't know where everybody's videos are, but Cara, our nurse practitioner in Knoxville, represent, go Vols. What is your first take on intermittent fasting?
Well, I think a lot of people think fasting is like for religious purposes or going without food for days at a time. But intermittent fasting is just getting in your meals within an 8-hour period, and then say dinner one day until lunch the next day. So most people think that that's difficult and they can't go without food. So they can start out just small periods of time not eating and then gradually kind of space it out. And I've always heard very good results from patients when they do intermittent fasting.
And results, are you meeting with like weight loss, with feeling better, with overall health? What do you mean?
I have, even specifically, I have a patient with hypothyroidism, and she said that she's been doing that. Patients who are in ketosis or following a keto diet, less than 20 carbs, or, patients that are just wanting to lose weight or feel better, all different types of people.
I like that. And two, I find that a lot of patients give it a couple of days. Of course, the first couple of days of changing any sort of habit is going to be different. You're not going to feel that great. Your body's getting used to a new state of eating and a new state of survival. Our bodies are like robots. I tell a lot of patients in the room that, like, we're robots, we're machines. And when you got to feed the machine somehow, and your body's going to get used to how you're feeding it, and the robot's going to need to think it needs to work this way, it takes a little bit of time to adjust to a new way of computing for a robot. That's a probably a bad analogy, but I had an endocrinologist that I worked with in Los Angeles. I may have talked about her on the podcast before. She's amazing, world renowned. She said for type 1 diabetes, which me and my sister both have, if you function more like a robot where you eat the same things at the same time every day, your body's going to get used to it, and your insulin sensitivity is going to be more on the money because it knows what's coming in and it prepares. And that's one thing that stuck out to me in the doctor's note. He said with the artificial sweeteners, you taste it, you barely put it in your mouth, and your brain recognizes and already signals insulin to come from the pancreas. That's crazy. That is true too. You can think I'm hungry and get the cravings, and your body preps for it. It's ready to go. Your body's smart. So too, we talk about that with patients with type 1 diabetes. That's why we can dose insulin up to 15 minutes prior to a meal to kind of mimic that initial spike as food's coming in and as your body's prepping, because your brain, it's your brain. It's smart. So that's one thing that stuck out to me. But Amber, our nurse practitioner representing Kingsport, what were your first takes, first thoughts? You were mentioning a story of your cousin, a family story. Am I wrong? Okay. Yeah. Tell us. Tell us.
So it's really interesting because over the holiday weekend, we had some family in town, and my, actually it's my husband's cousin, but they were in from Nashville, and they were talking about some different diets they're doing. He has an autoimmune issue, and she is by no means overweight, and she was talking about intermittent fasting and a book and a trainer she's been doing, but her fasts are kind of alternating, and they are different. Her intake is different depending on what fast she's doing as far as the hours, I guess, and then also what workout she's doing. And it was just, I guess, what spoke to me talking to her about intermittent fasting, and then this doctor's note, is how it's individualized, to your body, to your makeup, to your pre-existing conditions, whether it's type 1 diabetes or hypothyroidism, or if you're just a generally healthy person and not even overweight. She was doing it more for energy, hormone balance, and different things. And that really stuck out to me as a takeaway, is that it's not just about weight loss, even though, as you were saying, great results with weight loss, just how it can benefit you from a balance standpoint, energy boost, and overall health.
And gut health. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I think that's awesome. And two, yes, it's individualized. I'm learning that in the rooms as well, because I don't know if you all get this. I get this a lot in the room of, I tried ketogenic diet. It didn't work for me. I tried paleo. It didn't work for me. I tried intermittent fasting. It didn't work for me. And I 100% believe that. I know your first initial reaction is to be like, well, you weren't doing it right. Of course, if you go low carb and you intermittent fast, you're going to lose weight. But I'm learning from this book, they're right. It may not be working. The way that you're particularly doing it may not work for your body type and the way that your body metabolizes certain foods and nutrients for energy. Sorry, you were going to say something?
No, that's what makes performance medicine so different, is that we are willing to listen to the patient who says this isn't working, to look at the big picture and to help find the individualized issues that may be going on. And I don't know all the different avenues or practices that are out there, but I really do believe that sets performance medicine apart from your.
I appreciate you saying that. That really does come from the precedents that Dad has put out there. He's worked in family practice for so long in a system, and he had told me before starting practice, he said 99% of the time your patient knows exactly what's wrong with them and they know how to treat it. You just have to listen. That's what he said, and I have found that to be true. Especially too with how specific things are to certain patients. It just, for those of you who are listening, who are into the intermittent fasting protocol, you probably know more about it than I do. There are a lot of different ways to do it. Fast Feast Repeat is a good resource, but I also tell a lot of my patients to go to Dr. Fung, F-U-N-G. He's a nephrologist out of Canada and has a phenomenal website that is very educationally based. He goes into the whys of why we do fasting. And I'll just make a note on that real quick, and then we'll go to Fran for her first thoughts. Why we do this, it's all about insulin. And I know this is like an old story with me. I'm type 1 diabetes. I love and live and breathe insulin. I survive off of insulin. Insulin is an essential hormone for the appropriation of glucose and where foods and nutrients go. Can you hear my eyes? Are they going for it? Yeah, they're going for it. Perfect. Yep, we've got people out there just doing the lawn. The dogs, they feel the same way about insulin right now. They're just barking for it. Okay, and they're done, and we're good. Insulin is essential. It tells your body where to put glucose, where to store fat. So the less opportunity for insulin that we have out in our body, the less opportunity for fat storage. That is how intermittent fasting works. That is how we get in a fasting state. And that's how we lose weight. Insulin, my sister, oh God, I probably should have asked for her permission before doing this, but she gained weight on an insulin pump in high school because she's constantly pumping in insulin. And it is a weight gainer. So it's just a lot of different things that we can think about with fasting. There's 16-8, there's a 12-12, there's a 24, and all these numbers are saying how often you're not going without food and how often you are going with food. There's also what I found interesting in her book with Jen Stevens, you can do a 2-5, 2 full days of fasting on a Monday and Thursday, and the rest of the days you feast. That's kind of her fast feast. Eat what you want on the other days. It helps with your gut, and no one knows the gut better than Fran, our PA in Johnson City. She loves the gut. What are your first thoughts and first takes on this, Fran?
Well, I love intermittent fasting because it works for me. So I've been doing it for a long time. I don't do the real restrictive of like a 4-hour window, but on most days I don't eat until lunch because I'm not hungry until lunch. I don't wake up starving. And so I think, to your point of everyone has to listen to their own body, every time I try to get other family members or my husband, I'm like, oh, let's just skip breakfast. Let's intermittent fast. Then you don't have to fuss. You have more time. But no, he gets hangry and he has to eat. You're traveling and oh my gosh, you got to find a place to stop because he's got to eat. I can go forever without eating. And I know that I'm going to get to eat. I can function without eating and I actually feel better.
How long did it take you to get to that point? Was it a hard transition, or is it like, okay, next day I didn't eat breakfast, I'm good?
I don't wake up in the morning wanting food. I'm not hungry. Okay. And because I was a college athlete and I used to get up early in the morning and swim for 2 hours really hard, I never ate or drank a thing before working out because it made me sick to my stomach. So I am used to working out and doing things without food on board. Food makes me feel bad when I'm swimming or doing something athletic. So even now, I'll go in the morning, get up and I'm busy and I'll play 2 hours of tennis, which it's women's doubles and it's not that rigorous. So I mean, the way
you said
I
it. I didn't say that. Okay.
The way I play is not that rigorous, but I don't even think about food. And by the time I get home, it's noon and it's like, okay, I can have lunch. It's hard to intermittent fast for me at a family gathering and everyone's having breakfast and the food's right in front of you and you're smelling it. I try not to do it on those occasions. But when I'm busy and up and moving around, I don't even think about food till noon.
You bring up a lot of things, and we're going to touch on all of these. One being, you mentioned kind of family gatherings. I think there's a huge psychological component to eating. There's a comfort to it for sure, but there's also a routine. And I have one patient that she eats breakfast because it's with her mom and it's what they've always done. And her mom cooks it for her. She can't skip it is what she says. I can't skip it. And it's not really because I think she's hungry. It's because it's tradition. Cara, do you ever run into that with patients? Or I find that a lot of it's driven by routine and more of a psychological component.
Most of the time around the holidays. Well, we had Thanksgiving and Christmas, the New Year's football season. Now we have a new COVID-19. I've gained so much weight during COVID. So they definitely do talk about different times of year. And well, in COVID, we're not spending much time with other people, but, you know, by ourselves, we're stress eating or
Right.
and so much of our culture is around food. If we're happy, we eat. If we're upset, we eat. If we're, you know, celebrating or mourning, you know, it's all about food. So I definitely think, you know, keeping things in moderation is important, and that's hard to do.
It's
And
hard.
yeah.
And keeping in mind that it's okay. Yes, this is a psychological component. I feel better, but also too knowing that a lot of those refined grains and refined sugars, they hit the dopamine receptor. They hit the pleasure center that says this is a good thing. It is a biological trait that we have to find where food is, because food was scarce and you had to make it or grow it or kill it and cook it. Now we have grocery stores. We don't do any of that stuff. So we are overstimulating that part of our reward center, and we don't need to remember where the grocery store is now. It's down the street. We don't need to remember where the banana tree was or where the wild hogs were. We're not in a primitive time. So I feel like a lot of these biological traits are not meant for the culture that we have, which is too, I think fasting, I even thought about this too, hibernation. You weren't going out in winter. We have cars and we go down to the grocery store and we get our hot chocolate and eggnog latte from Starbucks, and we're fine. We're fine. We're not going to go through starvation. We don't have to go build up for the winter months. And our bodies were designed to do that because we had seasons. So we're able to go much longer without food than our minds think we do. It just takes a little bit of time, but recognizing that that may be an obstacle for you as a patient, listener or viewer today of the show, know that that may be a component of it, and that is fine. There are ways to do it. Your body will survive unless, I promise you. I just even looked up a statistic. I read 40 days without food is kind of where you can go to your max. Does anybody else have a different number in mind? No, I've heard, I saw 21 for one and I saw 40 for another. I don't know the exact, because I wanted to find out. I get a lot of questions of, well, won't my body go into starvation mode or won't my metabolism slow down? Do you all get that question? Amber, do you get that question at all, or do you have that question?
Oh, I ask myself that question all the time because I'm sitting here like, I love food. I eat a lot and very frequently. And once again, individuals, I'm a hangry person. I wake up starving. I have a pre-breakfast before the kids get up and eat breakfast. I mean, and right now, and one day I know my metabolism is going to come to a screeching halt, or I'm going to go through, things will change for me. So I'm just riding this party bus as long as I can. But metabolism, that was something your dad said that really did stick with me, is that I can't remember, autophagy, basically eating. I'm always thinking that's a negative thing when really and truly it can be a beneficial thing. So yeah.
And that's a perfect word, autophagy. So autophagy is a Greek word meaning self-devouring. You are eating yourself, but it sounds like a bad thing, like we're eating our muscle. It takes a long time to get to that point. There's something called the Minnesota starvation experiment. I don't know if you've learned about that or come across it. It scared a lot of people into, we need to eat calories, because it took like 56 men in Minnesota in the 40s and 50s and drastically reduced their caloric intake over a certain period of time, and it had negative results from it. So, and they looked cachexic. They looked awful. If you look at it, it will be enough to scare you to say, eat all the time. But too, you kind of find out what you need to survive. What that tells me is that your body is smart. It's going to find a way for energy, for you to move your muscle, move your fingers, move your eyeballs. You need energy in the form of ATP. You have to have energy. And what do? You burn things. You're either going to burn the food that you just put in, or you're going to burn something that's already in your body. That's how fasting works. You want to burn the stuff in your body. He talks about breaking down. You have to, if we eat just fats, he was a big bulletproof coffee that kind of almost like a fasting mimicking, where he's not fasting, or he is fasting, but still having fats for energy until lunch. This book says too, and there's differing opinions on that, of whether or not that truly breaks a fast. So I find that that's like a clean intermittent fasting versus a non-clean. having fats in the morning, heavy cream or butter, Kerrygold butter in your coffee, technically you're having something in your system, whether or not it's carbs or not. Your body is going to use that to break down. It's not going to use what else is in there. You got to get to the liver to break down glycogen, because insulin says glucose go here, go to the liver and go to glycogen. I'm doing parking spots. I'm fine too. I had a phone consult the other day and I'm doing all this stuff. Yes, I'm literally like building a house and showing the mountain of weight gain. And they're like, I really can't see what you're doing. Okay, just me in here, perfect. But I find it's like parking garages. You have small parking garages here, then you have another parking garage in the liver. The rest goes to that open field of fat, and it hangs out. It's like one of those country music parties, like field concerts where you just park in the field. That's what insulin does. So you have to get rid of all the other stuff first. The glucose first, you have to get rid of this stuff in the liver first is glycogen, then you get to the fat. That's how fasting helps out with that. Fran, any comments on starvation mode? Because you've gone a long time with intermittent fasting. Any comments or maybe the calming of fears?
Well, I do it in a way that works for me. And if I truly am hungry, like when I do weight workouts in the morning, for some reason after doing that, I have to eat. So I eat. I don't push myself past what my body is saying it needs. So kind of really tuning in and trying to not just eat for emotional reasons. And I find that intermittent fasting is easiest when you're busy doing something else.
Yeah.
You don't, I think we eat all the time when we're not actually hungry.
Right.
Just out of habits. And,
absolutely.
But again, I do say everyone is different, because my husband, it's like if he misses a meal, it's the end of the world.
Yep, the hangry stuff. Hangry is a real thing. It's your brain saying, do this. I'm totally with you on that. So this sounds like intermittent fasting can be individualized. I think we need to utilize this more. It's a great tool to use. I will say, and Cara, Fran, if y'all can back me up on this, it is not the end all be all for losing weight. I've had the story of I'm trying everything in the world. I intermittent fast. I do keto. You got it, Fran, you make a good point. Find what your body responds to best. So I've heard differing opinions on carb intake. Some people do actually better on carbs. I've even seen some type 1 diabetes books saying that patients like me do better on like fructose, which is totally contradictory to what I thought. So, excuse me, you have to find what works best for you. And sorry, good Lord, I need some water over here. Production team, can we get some water? Perfect, thank you. But also too, an individualized approach is really, really going to be the thing. Finding out what your body does, checking out the other stuff, hormone imbalance, thyroid dysfunction, insulin resistance. Those are the 3 things that makes your mountain of weight gain so much harder. You can do the right things. If you do not address those things, you're going to have a hard time losing weight. But any closing remarks, Cara, any closing remarks, anything our patients need to remember?
Well, I agree with Fran about listening to your body, because like he says in the doctor's note, everybody metabolizes calories differently, and just listen to your body, all things in moderation. Somebody might be able to do an intermittent fast longer than another person, but just individualize.
And listen to your body. You make a great point about calories. That's energy, that's heat in the form, that's energy in the form of heat is a calorie. It's something you learn from chemistry. That's going to be different in how all 4 of us in this space right now, we'll get different amounts of energy from it. A calorie is not a calorie to either of us, to any of us, and a calorie in is not a calorie out for sure. So, perfect. Hold on. And we got water. Production, listen. Thank you so much. It says coffee, but it's actually water. Fran, any closing remarks?
Just that you can, a positive way to look at it is it's not really a restriction. You can eat just as much as you would normally eat. You're just changing the window of time So you can honestly eat a breakfast, lunch, and dinner all within a 5-hour period. And some people, I'm the type of person that I can't restrict calories. I can change the window, but when I eat, I want to eat until I'm full. I don't want to eat like a little piece of something. I mean, I want a salad or a half-pound burger, or so
or a full pound, Go for a full pound.
But that's how my body likes that. My body likes to be full and satisfied, but I can go for a long period without food because I guess I know I'm going to get food. And I think diets can be very restrictive when people think, oh, I'm not going to ever get to eat. Well, with intermittent fasting, you can eat. You're just changing the window.
You're changing the window. And I think that's important too. You will have food. There is food. We have food. We have grocery stores. We're not trying to hunt unless you are a hunter. If you are and you have Wi-Fi where you are, tell me how you're doing it, okay? We're not in a time of famine right now, and knock on wood, we won't be. That's great. I appreciate that, Fran. Amber, any closing thoughts?
I think we hit on just the intermittent fasting is really something that is intriguing and kind of new, even though it's not new, but it's a newer concept to really look into. So if you're kind of stuck, and whether it's for weight loss or just energy, and it's something to consider and try.
I think that's great, and it bears repeating. Intermittent fasting is individualized. You have to check out the other things too, not the end all be all. Check your hormones. We will say this probably in every show we have. Check your friggin' hormones. Check them, and check your thyroid, and check your insulin sensitivity. That is going to help out with weight management, weight retention, weight gain, weight loss. And two, we can survive on less than what we're doing right now. We really can. As a whole with our culture, we can survive on less than what we're doing. And with fasting, we're just changing the amount of time that insulin is doing its thing. And your body is smart. It is so smart. So this has been a really good one. I like this. Oh, there was one more thing. Okay, and we have all the time. I'm sorry. Give it time. Do not give it a week. A week is not going to have a significant amount to see a change. Your body has to adapt. You may keto flu is another thing with ketogenic diet. Your body's going to make a response, and it's not necessarily a negative one right off the bat. In the book, he talks about there's one patient, or one of the researchers went an entire year of doing this change. And after that year, which is most people what it's saying for a change in diet, you need to do it for about a year to see a significant response. His allergies went away. He had severe environmental allergies, and his allergies were gone. So there is power to it, but you got to give it time, and you got to protect your gut. That's for you, Fran. Anytime I think of the gut, I think of you. You got to protect that gut with pre and probiotics and digestive enzymes. Everyone should be on one of those. Okay. And Gluten Shield's one of ours. Microbiome Labs. That's right, Fran. Microbiome Labs is a good one. Gluten Shield's
for
another
probiotics, something that survives the digestive tract.
Yes. This has been great. Cara, Amber, Fran, always a pleasure. This has been never a pain, always a pleasure. Come see us at Performance Medicine. We are the mid-levels, and tune in next week where we will talk about something else, and it will be awesome. Thanks again, y'all. I appreciate it. It's good to be back.
Bye. See you later. Have a great day.
You too.